Hey sweet friends, this is Holly, and I'm going to be sharing some very fun and festive fall DIYs. Let's get into it. I have my charger plate and I grabbed some Mod Podge. This is the lazy girl's way, but it works. And for those of you that craft a lot or just like it faster, I mix the Mod Podge with the paint to get it to stick to things that otherwise it would chip off of. You could just paint it and then seal it. That's another way to stop things from chipping off. Or you could paint the Mod Podge first, or you could spray a clear varnish on it, or even spray paint. Anything that's like a primer like that, you can do it first and then your other paint will stick. So here is the Folk Art Metallic Paint in Antique Copper. I thought that would be really pretty just to bring out those little beads. One of my favorite things about this charger plate here is that it's got those little beads on the side. And here's our free printable. You can take a screenshot. It will also be down below in my description box, a link that you can click and it will take you right to it. And I'm going to use that. And also, I didn't show it, but I added a little bit of texture along the border of the plate by tapping with a sponge and a little bit of sand. I just wanted to change it up a little bit too, instead of making every plate smooth. So I don't know if you guys can see around the frame there, it's like a little bumpy. I just thought that looks nice for a change. And I am using sticker paper. This has been such a great find. I don't know why I didn't think about it before when I was applying images, I guess. I was using the tissue paper method, which I still do love because it's totally transparent, but it is a little bit more fussy. You have to be careful about wrinkles. You have to tape the tissue paper to cardstock to put it through your printer. And some of you come on and ask me, what do I mean by tissue paper? It is just regular tissue paper, like you would put in a gift bag. Any brand will work. I don't buy anything fancy. The cheapest one will work. You tape it on some cardstock. You cut it obviously in the shape of like the cardstock, which is usually the letter size, and you tape it down and then you run it through your printer so it will print on that side, and you can use that to transfer images, and it's really discreet and it's a great method, but it is a little bit fussy. You have to be careful about wrinkles. I always do it with a glue stick to keep the surface as dry as possible, which reduces your chances of wrinkling. So I will tell you further down the video what pleasant surprise I got with the sticker paper. I was super excited. Anyway, I ended up bunching my florals together in little bouquets and then gluing them, and I felt like I had more control, and I just wanted to show that because a lot of times I'll glue florals down and they're not laying the right way and I have to twist them or work with them, and this way I got it exactly how I wanted it first, and then I was able to glue the little bouquet down, and I just felt like I had more control that way, so I thought it was a nice tip to share. And then the bow in the center, you could see the twine, and I just felt like that looked a little plain. Look at it. I didn't want to go over the top with these. I wanted to keep them really simple and classy, but it does seem like it's too simple, like there's something missing. I could have put some more orange ribbon in the center, but what I ended up deciding to do was to grab some of this ribbon from the Dollar Tree. It's a gingham print, and the wire that I'm using to, right there, I'm twisting it in the center, is actually coming from ribbon wire. So like that orange ribbon right there at the bottom on the bow, that has wire in it, and when you cut those and you don't need the wire, anytime you cut a ribbon that has that wire and you don't need it, save your wire, because it makes wonderful discreet, exactly for the purpose I just used it for, centers for bows. And I usually use two, like I put them back to back because they can be a little weak, they break really easy, that wire. But that's it for this one. I think it came up so beautiful. I hope the camera does it justice because in person it is so vivid and bright and orange. And of course I was checking it out there to make sure the bow was in the center with the photograph. But look at that. It just celebrates the energy of fall. And by the way, I designed all of the prints today. All of them. They're all custom, designed by me, and all free printables for you to enjoy as well. You can change this up and use different colors. I went, of course, with black and bronze, but let me know what you think down in the comments. I grabbed some of this Dollar Tree fall fabric. I think it is so beautiful this year. Look at those prints. Oh my gosh. And then I cut out a shape like this, and I folded some computer paper, and I'm putting it on the fold right there, and we're going to cut it out. And it's kind of like the shape of an eyeball. I don't know how else to describe that, but you're going to need a shape like that. And then I'm using these double-sided sticky tape pieces here that I also got from Dollar Tree. I just found it's a lot easier. You could also just use masking tape if that's what you have, but I just want to hold my shape in place. And it was really wiggly, so I also took advantage of the clamps there from Dollar Tree. You could use clothes pegs if you don't have clamps, but I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. And this is what it looks like when you're all done. So there was some wrinkles here and you really want to get those out. And I just use a little bit of water in a Dollar Tree spray bottle and I spray the wrinkles out. It works great. Watch, I'm just kind of ironing it with my hand. Although I did just purchase a small mini iron to try it because it was on sale on Amazon for like $9.99. I thought, I'll just get that just in case I need that. But I've been doing this with my clothing for years where I just stand there and spritz myself and I will just keep smoothing my outfit down, whatever I'm wearing, and it works. So it's a quick hack to get wrinkles out for sure. So here I get really bold and brave, you guys. I decided I want to cut 3 of these out at a time and I don't want them to wiggle. So I use the masking tape. I use more than one of those Dollar Tree clamps and there you go, 3, and it worked. They came out really nice and even, but you've got to keep these guys, you have to hold them really tight so they don't wiggle when you're cutting. So once I have all my shapes cut out, I'm going to organize them in a pattern. You can do this however you want, but I just kind of wanted to go every other so that they would meet on the other side. It doesn't really matter because when you're done with this project, it's not necessarily going to be noticeable. And then you're going to go ahead and clip them together and you're going to glue the outer edge like you see me doing there on the right hand side so that when you open it, the 2 prints, so not the back side of the fabric, the other side where the print is, will be facing on the same side. So you'll see right there, see how I do that? And you can see the print is on the same side. And you're just going to keep doing this and repeating this until you finish all of them. So you don't need to glue the top and you don't really need to glue the bottom. You're just gluing the sides because we're going to be finishing this up and you'll see why in a minute here why we don't need to glue the top and the bottom. But make sure, you take your time and note to self, see how I'm gluing and I'm leaving that much fabric to the right hanging off. I would guess it's like 1/8 of an inch. I did end up having to trim that closer to the glue. It looked better. So try to glue closer to the edge and just use a good quality hot glue. And of course, we're going to seal it all up now. So we've made like a complete circle. When you open it up, that's what you have right there. Isn't that pretty? Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, you guys, these fabrics, look at that. That is nice fabric. So now I just used a circle shape. I had some masking tape that was the right shape. You'll have to kind of figure out what circle you need. And we're just going to put this on the bottom because you can see that I've already kind of stuffed it a little bit there. And I'm just putting it in the bottom. You do need to stuff it just enough to open it up so that you have, when you're gluing it down, it's going to catch all of those little pieces and you want those spread out more similar to how they're going to be once this is fully stuffed when you glue your bottom down, if that makes sense. So I did resort to the needle. I had stuffed this so full, it was overstuffed almost because that's how I liked it. I just wanted to plump out those pieces so you could see the designs that I turned to thread. And all I'm doing here is literally just looping it in and out, just in and out my needle. And then I'm going to pull really hard like this to pull it all together. You can glue, but for whatever reason, it just wasn't cooperating with me. Maybe my fabric wasn't stretchy. I'm not sure, but I did have to pull it with the thread and I just felt like that gave me a little bit more control as well. See how I'm kind of shaping it with my hand as I'm pulling. And when I had everything where I wanted it to be, again, I'm holding in place for that next, we have the bottom, which was a circle, and then you have to put something on the top. I decided to go with this light colored burlap. You can see it right there to the right. And I used gobs and gobs of glue, as you can see. But this is basically what's holding everything in place. And of course, you can tie it with the thread if you want and pull it shut that way and just do it different. But I thought the burlap looked pretty anyway. I was planning on putting something like this on the top. This, I wanted to keep it mostly in a fabric theme, I guess. I didn't want to go too much like a craft with the Spanish moss or anything like that. I definitely wanted to keep it like this. This is a perfect pumpkin for like your bedroom. It's so pretty when it's done. So I ended up taking some of the nautical rope from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to go around the bottom a little bit because my stem was extra tall and I thought it looked kind of weird. You don't have to do this. And I went, I think, around 2 times. Now I'm taking the Dollar Tree burlap fall leaves right there, and I'm just using a piece of it. And I just thought the burlap, again, went better because this is a fabric craft. So I thought, well, the burlap, at least we're kind of staying in the theme here. And I glued the orange and the burgundy one on top, just like this. Next, I'm taking the wire. I don't know if you saw that I pulled the wire off of the leaf, the maple leaf. I actually pulled the stem off, and that stem makes a perfect, soft, nice little, I call them curly cues. I don't know but I think they're so cute. And I just tucked it under the nautical rope and we're all done. And I don't know what it is about this particular craft, but it just gives me such a feeling of coffee and cozy fall days and pumpkin spice. And I just really feel the entire vibe when I look at this little pumpkin. I'd like to make 2 or 3 of these. You can make them in different sizes, but again, I think they're great for like your bedroom for a little fall decor. Let me know what you think. For this project, you're going to need these supplies, and that is actually a print, the plaid print underneath, and I will have that again down below in my description box so you guys can use it if you need it. And we're going to start off by painting this with the apple barrel paint in pewter gray, and I did end up, that's a Christmas straw by the way, you guys probably noticed that. I did end up having to give that 2 coats, the straw, because it was transparent. And after everything was dry, I'm just taking my sponge and very dry brushing. Again, hardly any paint. That's what I do right there. I kind of rub my sponge brush on the paper until there's hardly any paint left. And I put a little white on, and then I wanted to tone even that down. So I put a little bit of gray over the white just to give the cup character again, or the mug character. I just don't like it when it's all flat. Dimension looks pretty. And I'm doing the same thing with the straw. Now we're going to use some of this Fast and Final lightweight spackling. I love this spackling. It is so nice, especially for faux whipped cream. And we're going to, well, put a little bit of faux whipped cream on the top of this mug. I thought that would be fun. So just using a craft stick here, and you just work with it. I did end up going from one edge to the other. I didn't follow the exact pattern of the Dollar Tree whipped cream. I kind of went like a straight line across this. And then I took some cinnamon while it was still wet, and I put a little bit on the top. Isn't that cute? So we're going to set that aside and let it dry. And then I have this sad, beaten up, it was a sign that was on my crafting table, and it actually got sprayed with dirt from crafting and paint. And I thought, you know, we need to give you a facelift and make it pretty there. And here's the plaid I was telling you about. So I chose a really soft gray and brown hues, the plaid. That's what I was going for. And we're just going to take this and glue it on to this sign. Now I did need to paint the words first to cover up the words because it was showing through, so I just did a little bit of white paint for that. And you saw me using a little bit of the gray pewter paint as well to paint the frame because the frame was covered in paint and just stains and stuff from from it sitting too close to my crafting area. I guess everything would splash on it. So that's what we're doing. And then we're using the Dollar Tree glue stick. It doesn't have to be a fancy glue stick here, and we're just going to glue that plaid paper down as the back. Isn't that pretty? I just thought this would be a nice look, or a different look for fall. And I saw something on Pinterest a while ago that inspired me too. I thought that's so cute, but I couldn't find it again. But I had a vague memory. It wasn't exactly like this, but I thought it was cute. This is a great way to add like a shelf sitter or a little sign somewhere. For look at how cute. And I'm putting the towering block behind it because we need to lift it up a little bit so we don't squish that straw. And now these are table scatter pieces here. I've never seen them before. They're new to me at my Dollar Tree. I love them. They were so pretty when I took them out of the package. I didn't realize how nice they were. I'm going to use this for this craft, but I just wanted to tone it down a little bit. I did almost put it on without any paint on it, but it was the wrong color brown. It was kind of like a root beer color, and the cinnamon is very warm, so it clashed. It didn't look right, so I painted it, or I sponged it a little bit, left some of it peeking through on purpose, and sprinkled it with cinnamon, and you'll see me blow it off. Look. Right there, I blew it off. But hey, now we kind of got like a marshmallow vibe going on. In this project, I'm using 2 crates from the Dollar Tree, and I'm showing you that I got different ones in different sizes. Now, you can use them vertically or horizontally. It's totally up to you, but because one was shorter than the other, I decided to go ahead and use them both vertically. I'm just taking some hot glue. This is Gorilla Hot Glue on the low setting, and I'm going to glue these 2 crates together. Next, I'm using the color in Pumpkin from Apple Barrel Paint, and I'm going to give one crate a coat with the pumpkin color, and the next crate I'm going to go ahead and use Apple Barrel Paint again in the color Antique Parchment, and I'm going to give one coat here as well. Now see that paint right there where it's gathering in between the crates? I just take a kitchen knife and go through to remove that. After that, I take Antique Parchment and I do some dry brushing on my bigger orange crate pumpkin. And then I did a dry brushing here with like a soft sherbet type orange, which I did not care for at all. So I'm just showing you why it's a different color. And I'm repainting it again with the Antique Parchment to start again. This time I decided to take the color Burnt Umber from Apple Barrel Paint and give the cream one a dry brush. Well, it's not quite a dry brush. It's kind of just a distressing thing. And I use a baby wipe to wipe off if I put too much down, and I paint the bottom a solid dark color. I do the same thing on the orange one. I just don't go as heavy, but in order to make them match a little bit better and come together, I went ahead and used Burnt Umber on this one, and I also paint the bottom, the dark color, a solid color to let I don't know why I did that. I just thought it looked more finished. This is the assortment ribbon I came up with to make a messy bow for these pumpkins. I do have a full tutorial on how to make bows. All of that ribbon was from the Dollar Tree except for the thicker twine one. I got that from Temu, I think for $2 or under. It was very cheap. I remember thinking it was comparable to the Dollar Tree, maybe even a little cheaper per yard. And then I'm just using some hot glue. Now, the reason I didn't show you me cutting these little branches on top that I use for stems in half is because I do end up actually tearing them off and replacing them with taller ones. So for now, we're just focusing on the bow, and I take and strategically glue that to cover up the holes on the top pumpkin so you can't see that because that taller crate did have some little holes on the top like handles. And then I'm using these tiny pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. I'm just cutting off the stick. These are going to be glued in the center like this for some extra embellishment. I thought that looked so cute. And now I'm taking some leftover leaves, and we're going to do that for the pumpkin little leaf, I guess, just to give some greenery. And here I go. This is when I rip off the stem because I thought, Holly, that's just not working. Once you start stacking up the embellishment, your stem can disappear. So I tore that off. Here's some leftover metal ribbon, and I cut it right down the center. And this is a great trick. It came up so cute and totally went with the rustic theme of these crate pumpkins. I'm taking a paintbrush and just spinning it around the paintbrush, and I chose a paintbrush because it gets gradually thinner at the top, so it makes that little metal ribbon look more legit, because I'm going to turn that into one of those little curly cube things that come out of the pumpkins. See right there? And I glue those down, and they are so cute. I really think that makes these DIY crate pumpkins that much more special. And that's it. And I love the way these came out. For this next project, I'm taking one of these Dollar Tree rounds. They're already pre-made. They're fairly new. I think they've been out a year or so, but they're so cute. They have the little wooden beads on the top and like a shiplap in the middle. And I'm just using antique wax and a baby wipe, and I'm staining it. Now, this one worked really well because the actual frame was smooth. I usually talk about the antique wax kind of catching on the wood. If the wood is really smooth, you can tell by rubbing your finger over it. If the wood feels like it's really slippery, then the antique wax on a baby wipe is going to work perfectly. Still using that wet wipe, I take and give it a little bit of a whitewash using a little bit of acrylic paint. I just barely put any on the tip of the wipe, but I felt like if I used a wipe, I had more control. If I dry brushed, I knew that I was going to hit the edges of the frame that I had just stained, and it did end up working out really well. In my first fall DIY video, I had used a decal. I'm going to go ahead and get the word home off here and put it on the sign. Next, I took one of these Dollar Tree foam pumpkins and using a kitchen knife, I'm going to cut it in half. You've probably seen this DIY before. I just don't have one and I wanted to make one because I've always wanted one. I think it's so cute. I'm going to use a utility knife and I'm not going to carve the whole center out or take too much out. I'm just going to take a little bit out so that I don't have a lot of bulk there, but I am definitely going to stick some of my florals inside the foam. And it was actually fun taking it apart because I discovered that centerpiece. That thing that looks like the bottom stem of the pumpkin is basically just a skewer stick that they shove up there. It's really interesting when you take these apart because you realize how they're made. And then using a little bit of hot glue, I have it on a low setting here so it's not melting the foam. I'm going to glue it on the very bottom of that plaque so that I have some room up above to put my florals in. These are all Dollar Tree florals too. It looks like boxwood, but I don't know if it is boxwood, but it was part of a pick with a little pumpkin on and something that looked like a little bit of wheat. I'm not sure, but I tried to pick all my florals in super warm colors, yellows, oranges, wine colors, just the colors of fall. And then this pumpkin looked a little too plastic and cheap. So I took the baby wipe again, dipping it in a little bit more of the antique wax. And I use Folk Art antique wax, but any antique wax works for this. And I'm just kind of putting a little bit on my pumpkin just to kind of distress it and just make it have some dimension. It was very flat and very one-dimensional, and I think it looks a little bit more expensive when you change that up a little bit. When I stood back and looked at this, I realized the final touch for fall is sunflowers because they're really on trend right now, but I think it came up so cute. For this DIY, we're just going to use some white acrylic paint and this tray from the Dollar Tree. And any one of these trays at the Dollar Tree will work. This is the one that I could find. And I'm giving it a quick, thick coat of white acrylic paint. Next, I'm going to take my paint sticks that I get from Amazon. These are the ones that don't have the little curled or cut into groove at the top. So you get more wood, a little bit thinner, but that's okay. I can't deal with little tops if I don't have to. I'd rather have the length. And I'm using the antique wax. Any antique wax or even watered down brown paint would work. And I watered it down with a little bit of water. And we're just staining the paint sticks. And then we're going around the edge of the tray as well to give it a faux wooden frame. Then I'm giving it a quick blow dry. And once it's dry, we're going to take and dry brush it with a little bit of white acrylic paint. We get this look when we're all done, which is really pretty and distressed. And we're also going to take and use the white paint to distress the paint sticks as well and give that the same look, but we're going a little bit more white on those. And then we glue those into the bottom of the tray. Next, we're going to take these Dollar Tree pumpkins and trace them out on the back of the cork the Dollar Tree sells with a sticky back. It's like a sticker cork, but I thought that would be really cute to make some cork pumpkins, and we're going to cut them out. And then you're just going to peel the white paper off the back because it's a sticker underneath and stick them down like that. This is a very rustic, primitive farmhouse fall decor look, which I love to have a little bit of that, especially during autumn. It kind of goes with the theme. And next I'm taking some raffia ribbon, making little bows, again keeping it nice and simple and clean, and we're going to glue all three on these pumpkins, and that's it, we're all done. You will have to let me know which one was your favorite in today's video. And of course, if you had fun today and you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, share the video, leave a comment, hype the video. That's a feature you guys can look for now. You can hype the video. And if you have some crafts you'd like to share with me, head on over to my Facebook page. You can share your crafts there. And of course, I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And I will see you again soon in the next video.